Welcome, everyone. Good evening. It's really nice to see you all. This is our PhD in Educational Studies info session. You're all welcome to keep your screens on if you want, or perhaps you might want to turn your videos off for now, and then we're going to save some time at the end of our presentation for Q&A. So just for ease of viewing, we have a bunch of different presenters who will be coming on. So so you might want to turn your cameras off for now, and then I'll cue you when we're turning to the Q&A. But I'm thrilled to have you. I'm going to start by just giving a brief overview of what we're doing tonight. And then I'm going to introduce the people that are on the Zoom call with us, and then we'll get going. So in our time together tonight, I'm going to briefly talk about BU Wheelock and the doctoral programs that we offer. And then I'll give a kind of broad overview of the PhD in Educational Studies, talk a little bit about the coursework that's involved, the milestones, the funding structure, the research and teaching, and try to run through all the things that might help you learn a little bit more about the program. And then we're going to talk about the 4 specializations that we offer within the PhD, and we have representatives from each one here to chat with us about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the application itself, the details, the timeline, the components, and then hopefully we'll have some time for your questions. And we'll share information from these slides afterwards, and you'll have an email contact, and so that if you don't have a chance to get your questions answered during tonight's short meeting, we'll have an opportunity for you to email those afterwards. Great. So I wanted to first introduce myself and the other people that are joining us tonight. My name is Amy Lieberman. I'm an associate professor in the Language and Literacy Education Department here at BU Wheelock. And tonight I'm speaking to you in my role as the director of our doctoral studies program. So I work with students everywhere from the application process through graduation. I will turn it over to you, Gabriel, to introduce yourself.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Amy. Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Arredondo. I am the I am the Assistant Director of Recruitment and Admissions here at BU Wheelock, specifically in graduate admissions. I am also a BU Wheelock alum. I graduated from BU Wheelock in 2018, and now have been a staff member here for 3 years. So kind of seeing both sides of that, the first as a graduate student, and now helping folks enroll and go on their own graduate student journey as a staff member.
Great. Thank you, Gabriel. Dr. Dedeker.
Hi, I'm Leslie Dedeker. I am the Associate Dean of Research at Wheelock, and also my students know me as the Associate Professor of Math Education. So I have dual roles.
Fantastic. Dr. Forzani.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elena Forzani. I'm an assistant professor in literacy education and also the program director for literacy education. And Gabriel was my student in the reading education program a long time ago. So glad to have him here.
Great. And Dr. Green, do you want to talk next?
Hi, good evening. I'm Jen Green. I'm a professor in the special education program, and it's great to see so many of you out here tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Great. And Dr. Olivia Chi is going to join us a little bit later when we talk about the ed policy specialization, and I'll let her introduce herself then. Okay, so I want to just open by sharing what we know as our guide star. So when the current BU Wheelock College of Education and Human Development formed about 6 years ago, we spent quite a bit of time thinking about who we want to be and what we represent. And these are the values that are reflected in all of our programs and in our work and in our doctoral program as well. So we strive to prepare professionals who dismantle systemic barriers and create positive change for all children and families. We offer a broad range of programs and specializations with lots of opportunities to collaborate across disciplines. So we're quite multidisciplinary within Wheelock, but we also work a lot within other colleges at Boston University, in the larger Boston area, and internationally. Our faculty have high-level research programs across areas, and throughout the work we do, we have an intentional focus on social justice and equity in education and human development. I just briefly want to mention that tonight we're chatting about the PhD in educational studies. But if you leave tonight and you think that this is not the program that you thought you were learning about, or you have interest that could be better served by another program, we also have 2 other doctoral programs. One is our PhD in counseling psychology and applied human development. And the other is our EDD in Education, Leadership, and Policy Studies. And the EDD follows quite a different model. And so if you have questions about either of those programs after tonight's session, please reach out to us, and we'd be happy to share information about those. But on to our PhD in Educational Studies. I'm going to just say a few things about the program broadly. It's typically a 5-year program. Students are here as full-time students for 5 years. There's financial support offered throughout the program. The financial support is a package that includes 2 main components. One is tuition, so all of your courses and credits, student fees, basic health insurance are all covered for the 5 years that you're here, and that's 12 months per year. And the second component is the service stipend. The service stipend is provided as a means of support for you to be a full-time student while you're here. And as part of your service stipend, students conduct 20 hours per week of either research or teaching or a combination of both. The stipend changes from year to year. We don't know what next year's stipend will be. I see that this is slightly outdated. The current stipend level is approximately $41,000, but we haven't yet set the amount for the coming year. The program has a combination of coursework, research, and teaching. So primarily in your first 3 years is when you're taking most of your courses. I'll say a little bit more about your courses in a moment, but there's foundational courses, research methods, pro seminars, and more. Students all do 2 qualifying projects. And then that typically could be as early as the first year, but those typically happen in the kind of second and third years. And those often provide the foundation for your dissertation, which is done in stages. First, a proposal, which you present to a committee, followed by your dissertation research, and then the final hearing at the end of your program. So just a little bit more about each of those. So the coursework, as you'll see kind of as we start talking about our specializations, is quite flexible. And I think of all the students that have been in the program, no 2 have taken the exact same courses, and that's by design. Everyone takes some courses together. So when you first get here in the first year, you do a 2-semester pro seminar that covers history of schooling, educational institutions, educational foundations, as well as understanding systems and theories of learning and teaching. And that pro seminar, Dr. Forzani has taught it for us in the past. A variety of our faculty teach it. That serves both to set your foundation and also to give you a chance every week to be with your cohort of students. So it also serves for a lot of peer support and mentorship. And then all students take a series of quantitative and qualitative research methods. Everyone takes the foundational courses, and then advanced courses in research methods that are chosen specifically to match the kinds of methods that you might be using in your PhD and in your research. So if you're working on projects that are primarily using qualitative methods, you would likely take advanced qualitative methods and various courses that kind of addressed those areas. If you're doing more quantitative work and different using different statistical methods, then we would direct you that way. And some students do mixed methods, so we also offer a mixed methods course, or students take from both areas. Following that, you do specialization coursework. If you look through our bulletin, you'll see that there are a set of recommended courses in each area, but those really serve as the starting point. So students take courses, as I mentioned, across the college, and then at other colleges at BU, and even at other colleges in the area. We have a consortium where we have an agreement with Boston College, Tufts University, and a few other colleges, Brandeis University, so students can take a couple of courses outside of BU. And we work with you to design specialization courses that meet your goals. And so it's really individualized and very flexible. Then you have qualifying tasks. Those tasks are kind of meant to help broaden your depth and breadth of research knowledge. So typically one of those qualifying tasks will be a literature review on a topic that you're developing on an area that you're interested in studying. And the second will be an empirical research study. And that might be building off of a faculty member who you're working with. It might develop from a project that one of they are doing. You might be working with a data set, you might be working with a survey, you really, again, a wide range, depending on your interests and your particular mentors. One feature of our program that we're really proud of is our joint mentorship model. So students are not assigned their advisor for 5 years when they get here. You might work with a particular faculty member, or you might be really excited to work with a particular faculty member, but you actually get an advising committee, which gives you a chance to work with 2 or 3 faculty members across the first year, which we think is a nice way for you to meet a variety of faculty members, to learn more about what the different faculty research looks like here, to spend a little bit of time discovering your own interests and your own research proclivities. And then typically students will select a primary advisor by the start of their second year. And most often that primary advisor is one of the people that you've worked with in this advising committee. Research is a fundamental part of our program, and it's woven in from the time that you get here. But what it looks like often kind of evolves and changes while you're here. So when you first start in our PhD program, you are often doing a research apprenticeship with 1 or more faculty members where your faculty have an existing project and you're given a role in that project. So you might be doing anything from data collection, recruitment, coding, analysis, writing, presenting, being involved in kind of all aspects of the project. And some students are working on one project for kind of all of their sort of 20 hours, and some students are working on multiple projects, having their hours divided among multiple projects. But research is a part of what you're doing here. It's one of our primary goals is to kind of train you in all aspects of research, help you develop your own independent questions and voice and contributions to research. So that's woven throughout your time here. In addition, all of our PhD students have opportunities to be involved in teaching, and that could look, often initially looks like being a teaching fellow, which is what people often know as a TA. As a teaching fellow, you might assist with grading, hold discussion sections, support the primary instructor, give some guest lectures, and hold office hours. And many students also teach as an instructor of record, where you're teaching a full course. If that's something that that you'd like to do and that you're interested in doing, it's something that many of our graduate students do, of our doctoral students do while they're here. And in fact, often a student will first serve as a teaching fellow for a course and then later serve as the instructor of record. And then, as I mentioned, it's one PhD program in educational studies, but within that, it's divided into 4 specializations. And it's a good idea to kind of explore on our website what the different specializations are and who the faculty are. They are language and literacy education, special education, math and science education, and education policy. The specialization that you choose should be reflective of kind of where your primary interests lie, probably where your prior experience is, and what your kind of goals are. So you might have kind of a mini cohort within each of these areas, but I also want to emphasize that while you come in through a specialization and while you work within your specialization, we really do encourage a lot of interdisciplinary and cross-specialization work. Many of our faculty are in more than one of these areas, and many of our students do projects that are in more than one of these areas. So these are kind of starting points and avenues through which you might enter the program. But they do not limit you as far as the courses you can take, the experiences that you can have, or the faculty that you can work with. So I really want to emphasize that as we now kind of move to start talking about our specializations. So what I'm going to do now is turn it over to the 4 faculty members that I introduced at the beginning. And I'm going to give them they're each going to take a few minutes just to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about that particular area of specialization, what typical student profiles look like, and what kinds of research the faculty are involved in. So I'm going to start with Dr. Olivia Chi. Olivia, we just did brief introductions at the beginning, so if you don't mind just introducing yourself, and then I'll let you take it from there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia Chi. I'm an assistant professor here at BU Wheelock, and I study teacher labor markets, which leads me right into the area of specialization. And so I'm part of the education policy faculty, and across our group, we study a variety of different topics. But generally, the theme that runs across us is that we are all engaged in applied research that answers policy relevant questions related to topics like school choice, early education, or social policy. And so this can range from early childhood to K-12 to higher education. And so the topics that we study really range across that spectrum. So across our faculty, in terms of recent topics that we've been studying, you can see some of them listed here, but you can see there's a pretty wide variety. I study a lot of teacher workforce policy. Folks in our group study post-secondary financial aid and design. We have a really nice relationship with folks who are studying special education. And so a lot of folks work across those 2 areas. And so there's a lot of joint work being done in the education policy and special education space, looking at reclassification policies and English learner services and the efficacy of those programs, as well as STEM education policy. And a few folks are studying school choice and charter schools. So there's quite a range. And in terms of the background of students, of our current doc students, I would say, again, that there's quite a wide range in what they've studied in their undergraduate studies. So folks have come from different disciplines. But I would say that one thing that runs across many of our doctoral students is that whether it was a full-time position or whether it was a part-time position while they were in a master's program or what have you, many of our current doc students had some experience doing some research in the education policy space. So a lot of folks have, whet their appetite a little bit. And so in terms of preparing for their doctoral career, a lot of folks have had some research experience doing some, many of them have done some quantitative data analysis. Some of them have done some qualitative work, but I would say many of them have come in with a little bit of background in trying to understand how to craft research questions and how to do some of the analysis while working on other faculty's projects. And so if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Dr. Joshua Goodman, who wasn't able to attend this evening. His email is right on the deck. But I also wanted to note that we'll be this may have already come across, but we'll also be having a session coming forth where you'll have plenty of opportunities to ask faculty questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Chi. And I know you have to leave us, so I really appreciate you being here. And as Olivia mentioned there, I have at the end of the session, we'll share the dates for some upcoming information sessions, including one that's specifically about the ed policy specialization. So if you have more questions, there'll be plenty of time to delve into more detail during that session.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Great to see folks here.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to turn it over to you, Elena.
Thanks, Amy. Hi again, everybody. I'm Elena Forzani, in case anyone has come on since I last introduced myself. I'm part of the Language and Literacy Education program, and Amy talked a little bit about how interdisciplinary and collaborative a lot of our specializations are. I think that's especially true in language and literacy. A lot of our faculty at Wheelock that focus on literacy are not all situated within the language and literacy department. And so there are a lot of collaborations that kind of are interdisciplinary or that cut across different departments. And part of that is because literacy obviously is used across all disciplines. And part of it is just the nature of the structure of our college. But I think one of the really nice things about that is that our students often have opportunities to work with multiple different faculty within language and literacy, but then also across other departments and programs. And because of the committee structure that Amy mentioned, students often have the opportunity to work on multiple different kinds of projects using different kinds of research methods, and with faculty that study different areas and from different perspectives. And so I think students get a really nice set of experiences and have some opportunity to choose the kinds of experiences that they want, depending on what's available, of course. But it's really interdisciplinary and collaborative in that sense, I think, especially in language and literacy. But I will, and I would also say our research interests really span a wide array of topics. So you can see on this slide some different areas of research. So studying online reading and evaluation, teachers' justice-oriented commitments, and how teachers think about curriculum and enacting curriculum. A lot of folks think about transforming systems and school systems. We have faculty that study children's literature and queer, inclusive, and affirming language education as well, and then also developing AI-enabled sign language technology. And that also reminds me that we have faculty that work in different centers. So a couple of we have the Earl Center, which is interdisciplinary in nature and takes up a lot of literacy topics. And also we have faculty that work in the AI and Education Initiative. So as you can see from the sign language, thinking about various aspects of AI, and that's true across other specializations as well. But I would say one thing that most of the faculty in language and literacy have in common is that pretty much everybody does think about issues of equity and justice, both in research and then also in teaching. So if you take classes, you'll be really thinking about those issues. And I think students who come in are really focused on issues of equity and justice. And I would say I would really encourage you to explore the faculty on the website and to think about the work that those faculty do, and whether there are faculty that can support the kind of work you want to do, whether those kinds of topics align with the work you're interested in. And I think that's all I want to say, but I would just emphasize the interdisciplinary nature of our particular program that really allows students to dive into literacy across different disciplinary areas, and often working on interdisciplinary teams with students from other specializations as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Elena. Perfect. I'm now going to turn it over to Dr. Dedeker to talk about math and science education.
Hi. So I won't read everything on the slide, but I will welcome questions in the chat, certainly. And I'll just talk broadly about our specialization. So the faculty and the math and science specialization have a lot of different research projects, but there's some commonalities across. Many of us, well, actually all of us, I think, are really interested in the K-12 space, trying to shift the types of experiences of STEM and what our students experience as math and science, as well as engineering, computer science. And we're interested not only in like trying to shift the experiences students have with these subjects, which pulls us into curriculum design and trying to like shape instruction, but also like in supporting teachers and trying to understand their goals. So for example, we have studies that are doing studies of teacher learning, trying to understand how teachers understand education and their goals and how they then like plan math lessons or how they respond to student thinking in the moment. We have research that tries to understand like particular challenges that science teachers face. We have some of us focus on elementary math and science, which has particular challenges, especially in science where there's challenges around lack of curriculum opportunities and, you know, where the teachers have pressures not to teach in some ways. We have also focus at the secondary level where it's focused on challenges around trying to get students to you know, develop positive dispositions around the subjects. So you know, these are just some general topics, but I'm in the chat. So if you have questions for me, you can ask. And of course, we'll have an info session as well that Amy will introduce at the end.
Great. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to turn it over to you, Dr. Green.
Thank you. I'm Jen Green in the special education program, and our program has 9 core faculty, and we have a strong focus on systems and on how systems support students with disabilities and students who may need additional support, either in terms of academics or in terms of their social emotional development. And most of us are asking questions related to systems, and some of those questions and topics are listed here. And they're things like what kinds of policies are in place that effectively help to retain diverse special educators? And how can schools scale up evidence-based practices in reading interventions? And how do school systems interact with the children's mental health service system to support student mental health? So a lot of us are looking at ways that different levels of systems interact and influence each other, and how students and families are part of those systems and influence the systems around them. There are some sample areas of research here: mental health service access, bullying prevention. We have a strong program of research related to special education teacher workforce and teacher effectiveness. As part of our program, we're connected to the WISE Center, which is the Wheelock Institute for the Science of Education. And that center does a lot of research around reading and math interventions. We have faculty doing work on family engagement and advocacy and inclusive education and social outcomes. We also have a strong focus on reducing disproportionality in special education identification, and as a program have taken a disability justice framework in our courses. We generally have strong ties to local school districts. We do a lot of work in Boston Public Schools and in other school districts in the Boston area. So a lot of the work that we do is community engaged work. And then just one more thing to highlight is that many of our students have opportunities to teach, or we have a lot of courses in the special education program because we teach students from across all of the programs in the College of Education. So many of our students are teaching introduction to special education, either to special educators or to general educators. We had a student over the summer teaching in the School of Public Health, a course on disabilities. And a lot of our students are intersecting with students in the School of Social Work in terms of courses that they're taking over there and working closely with other programs around campus in their research and teaching. And happy to speak with any of you who are interested. Please feel free to reach out to our faculty directly. You can contact Dr. Liz Bettini, who's coordinating our doctoral admissions process this year, but please also feel free to reach out to any of us with questions that you have, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Great, thank you so much. I hope that that kind of quick overview gave everyone who's here kind of a sense of what the various areas of research are. And I think all of you, I really appreciate how you highlighted our faculty are here to engage with you and answer questions. And so I encourage you, if you're thinking about applying, spend some time on the website. There's a QR code at the end of this presentation that I'll share. And I know that Gabriel's been putting some of the links in the chat. Within the descriptions of the specializations, you can click on each of our faculty members' profiles and learn more about their individual research programs. You can also visit our institutes and centers and find out what kind of research is going on there. And then when you apply to the program, you'll have to select one of these areas to apply to when you're filling out your application. And then we encourage you, if you kind of identify some faculty members whose research is a really great match with your own interests, it's helpful to note that in your personal statement, so that we can be sure that if you have a goal of coming here and working with particular faculty, that those faculty members will have an opportunity to see your application. So that kind of leads me into our next section, where I'm going to turn it over to Gabriel to talk a little bit more about the logistics of the application, the components, what to think about, and the deadlines.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. So everyone, if you came in a little bit later, I'll reintroduce myself. My name is Gabriel Arredondo. I am the Assistant Director of Recruitment and Admissions here at BU Wheelock. As Amy hinted, we do have a standard application process that is all online. The components are listed here. You're going to need your statement of qualifications and objectives, your equity and inclusion statement. Both of these are essays that we recommend being 2 pages double-spaced. You'll need an analytical essay, which I believe is optional. Amy, is that correct?
Yep.
You will need a resume, an unofficial transcripts. If you are admitted to the program, we do ask for official transcripts before the first day of classes. However, you can certainly apply with unofficial transcripts. You would need 2 letters of recommendation. This is typically from a prior supervisor or maybe a professor that you've had, really someone who can speak to your professional goals and interests. We do have a $95 application fee. However, for anyone who attends our graduate admissions events, we do offer an application fee waiver that I'm going to drop in the chat, which would bring that 95 to a 0. So kind of just eliminating, kind of the upfront cost of being considered to our programs. For our international students, we do have an English proficiency requirement. That could be met a variety of ways. We accept Duolingo scores, TOEFL scores, IELTS. I'm going to also drop our application requirements page on our website, which will kind of go more into all of these application requirements in more detail, including the English proficiency. And last but not least, there is a pretty firm deadline of December 1st, 2024. So, I would recommend anyone who is interested, to get started on your application sooner than later. I've seen folks, apply right on the deadline, but then, there might be that one piece that's missing. And, you kind of give yourself that buffer the earlier not only the earlier you start it, but the earlier you submit it. You kind of give yourself some leeway, just in case, hey, that recommendation that you thought was really going to come in doesn't come in as quickly as you think. So just kind of keeping some of those things in mind. And I think that's about it. I'm also before I turn it over completely, I'm going to put our admissions main email in the chat. It's going to be wegrad@bu.edu. So if you have any questions that come up maybe during your application and you wanted some assistance from me or any of our staff here at BU Wheelock, we would be happy to help.
Great. Thank you so much, Gabriel. So I just want to go through a few more logistics and frequently asked questions, and then I think we'll have plenty of time to turn it over to all of you who are here to ask your questions. A little bit about our timeline. As Gabriel mentioned, the December 1st is really a firm deadline. That's because right after that deadline, we start reviewing applications. And we have lots of applications to go through, and we do it all before BU closes for the winter break. So that's why that deadline is really firm. Applications, as I mentioned earlier, in a given specialization will be read by faculty in that area. Like I said, it is always a good idea to get to know the faculty here from our web pages, and then reach out to specific faculty if you have research that really if their research really excites you and feels aligned with your own goals and interests. And then our goal is that in early 2025, applicants who are chosen for an interview will be notified by in January. We conduct interviews via Zoom. So that students who are local, students who are across the country, and international students all have an opportunity to participate in that if you're selected for an interview. And then our goal is to notify admitted students of our decision by mid-February. And then you technically, for students who are offered a spot, you have until April 15th to make your final decision. Our cohort is roughly 6 to 8 students. And so it's a fairly competitive program. And we have a sort of large number of students who are offered admission tend to come. So our cohort size, like I said, is about 6 to 8 students, and that's kind of spread across the 4 areas that we were just talking about. Okay, a few questions that we get quite often. And then there's also an FAQ page that we can drop a link for in the chat. I get this question quite often. Do I need to identify an advisor or faculty mentor before I apply? You do not, but like I just said, it's helpful to know who it is that you'd be interested in working with broadly. And to reach out to those faculty members, but you're not assigned a single faculty member at the time of application. And because of our kind of group advising committee model, we don't sort of admit we don't have individual faculty admitting students. We make these decisions quite holistically and in conversation with all of the faculty who are involved in the program. The GRE is not required, so you do not need to take the GRE. We don't look at GRE scores. International applicants, actually all applicants can submit, as Gabriel said, an unofficial transcript. That's fine. We often have international applicants asking about converting or translating their unofficial transcript. It needs to be translated. We need to be able to look at the transcript, so it needs to be in English, and it needs to include some sort of grading scale or key that we can interpret. You do not need to get it kind of officially evaluated, but we do need to be able to see it and to be able to interpret it. And then, as Gabriel mentioned, I think everybody who's here tonight, who's joined, will get a code to use for an application fee waiver. Here I have a lot of contact information. I don't expect you to take this right now, but all of these links are available from our main website, which I'll show you in a moment. And then I just wanted to highlight all 4 of our areas will be hosting information sessions. The ones for math and science and ed policy are both scheduled for a week from Thursday, so Thursday, October 17th. There you'll have a chance to meet with more of the faculty from that area and to hear more about the research and the students that are involved in that. Special ed and language and literacy will also have programs. The dates for those are still being finalized, so we'll publish those on our website once we have them. Okay, I think I've covered the main things that I wanted to say. Again, this will take us to this QR code will take you to the main landing page for the website. From there, you can explore the specializations, the faculty profiles, the application, and contact forms to find out more information and stay informed about upcoming events.